I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in. They eyes to see the world they know outside. I can close my eyes and see all that and way beyond. When these trials in life come heavy and these obstacles get hard, feeling like I need some answers, I just go and talk to God. I just go and talk to God when I'm looking for guidance. Need more than sight, need vision, need direction when I'm blinded. Then I start that conversation with that voice I hear inside me. And that conversation starts with a voice inside that sounds just like me. When I talk to God, you can see God in anything, your reflection. God, I can find God in anything. When I talk to God, you can see God in anything. When I talk to God, find God in anything. When I talk to God, Daddy said don't ever assume, ask questions. It's ironic it was that advice that helped the song happen. It was also that advice that led me to my life's blessings. That same advice helped me make it through life's lessons. It was that advice that separates grown-ups away from children. That advice can be the difference from knowing or just believing. It was that advice that brought the gavel down on my decisions of breaking the mental chains of these man-created religions. This faith and belief nonsense, the biggest scam ever. I hate to say it, I swear it's one hell of a mental illness. Why we do it with these religions? The fact that COVID's killing while all of these guys is missing. Peekaboos, guys playing games with you. I'ma just assume he ain't got no COVID miracles. Maybe he ran out after making the donkey talk. Or some stories about a guy walking on water tides. Simply a distraction to keep you away from you and to look outside for a God when the God is inside of you. When you close your eyes at night and pray to that voice you talking to. When you ready to face the truth, you realize that that voice is you. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in.
Yo, what up, family? How are y'all doing? What up, Texas? Good to see you. I love the song too, man. Kylie really did his thing on there. And welcome to those of you that will be joining us on this evening. I want to have this little talk about whether or not the God of the Bible really loves us, okay? As he really love everybody. Y'all be sure to go ahead and share this link or whatever you can do to start bringing the folk on in and helping people realize that we are waking up from the fairy tales, okay? Um, go let me put a banner across the bottom. Y'all can go to the YouTube channel and y'all can subscribe there. And tonight, in talking about this, I'm going to use a little bit of Bible. I'm going to use a couple of videos, and I want y'all to understand that what I'm going to present, the reason I'm saying that the God of the Bible does not have unconditional love, does not fit the bill of the so-called love that all the Christians seem to think that he has or that he has taught them. I'm going to show you it does not equate even within the Bible. Okay, even when you look at what you know or what you say your God is, when you look at it, you have to use some verbal gymnastics, you have to use your imagination, or you just have to just straight up deny what is simply right in front of you. We're actually gonna. Some of you may be familiar with Richard Dawkins, who is a known atheist. He is a biologist. Peace, Joanne. Good to see you in the place. Um, Richard Dawkins. I'm going to have some stuff in here from him. One of the quotes he did from a book called the God Delusion, and I'm going back into Mr. Willie Cartwright's book. I'm trying to organize all this, and I'll read a few things from his book, but the gist of it is going to be hell. Hell. God loves you, yet he would send you to hell. Now, with that being said, I actually want to let you watch the first minute and 16 seconds of a certain video of a comedian who has passed named George Carlin. Some of y'all may know George, some of y'all may have actually seen this, but I think George, he makes it comical, but what George is saying makes a whole lot of sense. And then I'm going to show you the God of the Bible, not just about sending people to hell for an unimaginable amount of time, but what he goes out of his way, okay, and this is straight from the Bible. He goes out of his way to send people a delusion so that continue to believe what believers are saying is the lie. He goes out of his way to send them, okay? I mean, some of y'all know the passage of scripture that I'm going to be going to send them something to keep them believing in what is a lie, while at the same time claiming that he doesn't want anybody to be lost. It does not equate. And this is why not only do I say that the God of the Bible cannot be about real love or unconditional love or be love, because the Bible says he's actually love. Those are some of the first texts. Matter of fact, let's go to that one. Let's look at that. And then we're going to get into George Carlin. Good to see those of you that are coming on in here. Y'all go ahead and share this video out. Get people on in here. Get your family on in here. Get the ones. By the way, when we play the George Carlin video, if you are sensitive to language, it's not going to be for you. If you are Christian and you're watching this show, I don't think y'all have much of a problem watching it, because you know good and well what you're doing at home. You watch your movies, profanity, you watch your comedians, and it's all good loud. Same thing here. Just kick back and think. So, without further ado, I'm going to share the first scripture, because you cannot talk about God not be. And you know what? Would I know it? I don't have that tab up, but we're going to talk about John 3:16, right? We have to read John 3:16 because that is the most quoted and probably the most well-known verse in all of the Bible. If people don't know any other passage of the Bible, they know John 3:16. So I'm going to share that, read that, and then I'll read one more, which is in First John 4, where it says he's love, and then we're going to get into the George Carlin video. Good morning. What's up, Jarvis? Hey man, Jarvis, I've been trying to keep up with some of the threads, but yeah, hit me up on some of this stuff so that we can continue to pick back up where we started. I have not finished The Religion of the Occident. That book is a big one, but thank you once again for sending me that. I know it's going to be helpful in my studies. So without further ado, let me get John 3:16. Let me share that to y'all so y'all can see that I'm actually reading it. And after we do that, we'll do First John, and then we're gonna go into the George Carlin video and have a little fun. Just in first, so y'all seeing this? This is the one you know. Verse 15 says that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have eternal life. For God so loved the world. And this is in the context of so the inhabitants of the world. God loved them that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Now, there's a reason you need everlasting life, and you got to have this belief, because there's such thing in this book as everlasting torture. I don't call it that. We're going to call it torture. We got to consider that. Now, that's that one. Let's stop sharing that and let's share the next one before we get into the video. If you don't know who George Carlin is, you look him up. And like I said, I think y'all are going to enjoy the first minute and 16 seconds. And what I want to do is maybe halfway through or a little ways through this live, I want to play the whole 10-minute video of Jar, because he went in and it made a whole lot of sense. So here we go. Y'all seeing this? This is First John chapter 4. I'm gonna start at verse 7. and it's telling you what God is, the essence of it, what God is. Now, Carl, if you're able to see this, I'm sure you will have something to say. And I'm sorry, my friend, I did not get a chance to call you. Work was just work today. It was crazy. So I didn't get a chance to call you before I got this queued up. It says, God is love. 1 John 4:7. Beloved, let us love one another, right? Now we know what it feels like when you love somebody. There's different types of loves. Those Bible thumper, Bible scholars, you got your eros love, you got your phileo love, you got all these different types of love, but I'm talking about a unconditional, just loving, having a heart, this type of love. But let's read what it says. Everyone that loveth is born of God and knoweth God. How would you know that? Verse 8. He that loveth not knoweth not God. How can they say that? Because God is love. Now think about that. If God is love, what does love compel you all to do? Now, it has to be some understanding on a human level of what this is, or else these words mean nothing. This supposed God is putting this here because you will understand what love is, and then you're supposed to now have a greater appreciation and understanding of who He is, because you should understand love, what it compels one to do, protecting what it loves, doing things for what it loves, having mercy on individuals that you have a love for. Some of that love is conditional, but this is speaking of God. This is a unconditional love. It's a love you supposedly didn't do anything to get or deserve, and it's a love that supposedly you can't do anything to get away from. He continuously has a unconditional love for you. Now, if you before I go to the video, if there were any Christians on here that disagree with anything I've said so far about what the Bible says God is and about love, y'all just go ahead and put it in the comments. But I think it's time for us to get to the George Carlin video. Y'all give me a second to stop sharing this screen, and y'all will get a kick out of this. Y'all will get a kick out of this. George Carlin. And if you want to look it up, let's see. Y'all should be able to see that. All right. Y'all are able to see that. I'm going to play the first minute and 16 seconds. And then I'm just going to dive into some reasons why it makes no sense to say that this God is love. Here we go.
But in the bullshit department, a businessman can't hold a candle to a clergyman. Because I got to tell you the truth, folks. I got to tell you the truth. When it comes to bullshit, big time, major league bullshit, you have to stand in awe of the all-time champion of false promises and exaggerated claims, religion. No contest. No contest. Religion easily has the greatest bullshit story ever told. Think about it. Religion has actually convinced people that there's an invisible man living in the sky who watches everything you do every minute of every day. And the invisible man has a special list of 10 things he does not want you to do. And if you do any of these 10 things, he has a special place full of fire and smoke and burning and torture and anguish, where he will send you to live and suffer and burn and choke and scream and cry forever and ever till the end of time. But he loves you.
Stop. Did y'all hear that? He killed it, man. I'm sorry. George killed it. Okay. Carl, I see your comment. I'm gonna have to come to it. It's kind of long because I'm gonna move into some of the things that I have to deal with on tonight. So did y'all hear that? And that's kind of where I'm going. And I know some of y'all, you know, if you don't believe in hell, but to my religious folk, you believe, think about it. You believe that the creator of the universe created a place of not just torture, but eternal. Can you conceive what that means? Can you just ponder a minute for what that means? It does not end. This is not a million years even of a punishment. This is not even a trillion years even of a punishment. This does not end. Meaning, after a trillion years, you still have an inconceivable amount of time to go and to burn and do all that George was saying. That will never end. Okay, let that sink in first. I mean, just really let the reality of burning forever and feeling it, let that sink in. Once you let that sink in, now perhaps you can go to some of the other places. So what I'm going to try to do, because I'm going to go to some scriptures in the Old Testament, because what I want to talk about is what the Bible also has to say for not believing a certain position. Absolutely, Chris. If you don't believe in Jesus Christ, this place, hell, is supposed to be where you will end up for eternity. And I'm going to make the case, as I made so many times. That's why I'm not necessarily going to go to the scriptures on what I'm about to say. Let me stop sharing that screen. But I'm just going to restate the argument, but then I'm going to go to the scriptures on some things in the Old Testament. What about if this God is love, what is he doing having babies put to the sword or killed? What about even, and not just the humans, what about the animals that didn't do anything? Okay, they're just going to be slaughtered, not for food, not for anything. They're just going to be killed, okay, because they happen to be the animals that were owned, or whatever you want to look at it, by some individuals that God had a beef with. So the animals weren't any good either. Okay, we're gonna look at that. But here's my argument, and I made it many times before. Those of you who have heard me made it, just bear with me. Share the video with your religious friends, because maybe they have not considered what I'm about to say. You may be familiar with what Jesus says in John 14, around verse 6, where he says, no man comes to the Father except by me. You have to have heard the Jesus story if you're trying to go to heaven. Okay, there is no other way for you to avoid hell, a place of eternal torment, other than you must come through Jesus. So you got to hear the Jesus story, and you have to become obedient. We already read John 3:16. You got to believe in Jesus, or that's the purpose of sending Jesus. Now, let's go a little further. What about God? How does God feel about you getting the message? Well, there are passages in 1 Timothy chapter 2, 1 through 4, where God says that he wants all men to be saved. And then there's also in 2 Peter 3 and 9, it says he is not willing that any should perish. Now, let's put this all together. If your God is love and he requires that you hear Jesus, or you will end up in a place of eternal torment, but he wants you saving, and that's not his desire that you end up there, but he knows you will end up there if you do not accept Jesus. Now think about that. Those are things stated in the Bible. I don't think any believer would disagree. You got to believe in Jesus Christ, okay, in order to go to heaven. No believer is going to deny that God doesn't want somebody saved. He does. He wants all people, all men everywhere, to be saved. No believer would disagree that it's their God that they believe in, that allows an individual to be born, gives them life. No believer would disagree with you there, right? So far, we probably are so good. The problem with that is reality. Now, if he really loves everybody, excuse me, unconditionally, if he really, really loves, this is why my argument is relevant, because it's talking about love. Think about what hell is. If he really, really loves, what about the people who never hear the gospel? And don't give me some BS answer about, oh, you just have to believe that nobody heard. We know for a fact that there are people who have died and they have never heard about a Jesus. And you can't say that those people gonna make it anyway. That goes against what Jesus said. So now you're calling Jesus a liar. Because he said, no man comes to the Father except by me. If God loves those people, you can call them whatever you want. Aboriginal people. I'm not just talking about today. You got to remember, supposedly your Jesus died back in the AD 30s. However, we know that the earth was populated far away from Palestine. That message was supposedly preached in a place and in a time where there was not technology like now. I'm here in Jacksonville, Florida. I went live, and I know. Carl, where you at? Michigan. I think Carl is in Detroit. I think somebody else is in Texas. Jarvis, you're in another state. The people that's on here with me right now are not even in my state, and I'm getting my message out. They did not have that, right? So don't act like that happened in the first century. It did not, which means that there are people that are going to die on the earth that God allowed to be born and put there, knowing those people must go to an eternal hell because he and his son being one, he said, no man comes to me except through Jesus Christ. That, for me, y'all, I'm sorry to the Christian. Look, you cannot get around that, or I don't care how you slice it. That is an airtight. You simply just have to deny what I just said. You have to just deny what I said. What I just said. I was trying to read the comment. What's up, Bishop? It makes no sense to think that he loves you, but he's going to send you to an eternal hell. All right. Now that I've made that point, there's more I could say, but y'all have heard me make that point before. Any believers y'all got out there that want to take me up on it, let's see. But now let's go into the Old Testament. Let me show you some of the contradictions about this God and his love. Let me see. I wanted to read I'm reading from Willie Cartwright's book, From Saved to Sane, his journey away from Christianity and why Christianity has been detrimental to the African American community. Now, I put in the description, I put a link. So if you want to get the book, it's on Amazon. Go get the book. If you're like me and you wanted a autographed copy of the book, hit me up. I'm in contact with the author. Now, let me read you this. This is on page 63 of Willie's book. He says, based on the definition of unconditional love, if you are honest, unbiased, and objective, you will have to question the Abrahamic God and his unconditional love for us. Why you may ask, he says, because he is responsible for hell. And more importantly, he's responsible for non-believers spending eternity there. That's highlighted. That's page 63 of Mr. Willie Cartwright's book, and I think he's absolutely right about that. This hell thing shows that the God of the Bible cannot not only can he not be the epitome of love or love itself, he doesn't. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't do it. He doesn't demonstrate this type of love. The whole thing about him giving the son and all that, that's bull crap. That's a lie. And one other way you can look at that before we go to the Old Testament, what did he lose? What sacrifice? Please tell me, when you sacrifice something, you don't get it back. He laid down his life and he got it back. There was no sacrifice. He wasn't sent to hell forever in order that you may never go there. So he took upon him an eternal punishment just so we wouldn't go there. No, he got his life back and he's up there ruling. You know, he big dog. He big dog now. So without let's see. Let's go. Let me and see what the Old Testament says about innocence. And the reason I'm going to deal with innocence for a moment is because we're talking about unconditional love. What sick person out there would simply just, I mean, somebody might, but that would be a human, right? That's sick. But why would God have an innocent infant murdered, killed, butchered to death? Why would this God do such a thing? A baby that doesn't know how to talk, doesn't know how to walk, never even said a word, doesn't know what is going on and what reality is. Why would anybody murder a baby? And if you know me, some people, if you know me personally, I love babies. It's just something, they just cute, man. I just love babies. So let's go to what Exodus 23:7 says. I don't have it already up. I'm gonna just type it in. We're going to go to Exodus 23. If you following along, follow along in your Bible. Exodus 23 verse 7. And this is Israel giving some instruction here about how to be. Let me share the screen, showing y'all this text. And you can share this with your family. Share this with the believers that are your family. All right, make sure y'all seeing that. Let me go to, because I can't see y'all in the thing at the same time. Agape love. Yeah, John, I know where you might be going. I'm gonna stay surface level, but because the reason why I can deal with it at this level is because this is enough. This is really enough for any thinking person. Exodus 23, verse number 7. Keep far from a false matter and the innocence of righteous slay thou not, for I will not justify the wicked. Let me read that again. Keep thee far from a false matter, and the innocent and righteous slay not. So the innocent here is not only speaking of, he was speaking of false matters, like you could say like a situation, or like people would say what I'm talking about here is false. So God is telling them to stay away from false stuff, and the people that are innocent and doing right, okay, slay not, don't kill them. Do not kill the innocent. Would we not all agree that babies are innocent? I shouldn't have to ask that question, but I might have to ask that question to my Christian friends. Would we not all agree that a baby, okay, an infant, is innocent? Are there any Christians that are going to come on here and tell us that an infant is not innocent? I have to, it's a shame that we have to ask that, but look at it. They're being told that, and I'm sure that a baby would at least qualify as being innocent. Would you all agree with me that a baby is innocent? I'm not talking about bad little kiddo, even. I'm not even going there. I'm just saying, month-old baby, 2-month-old baby, 3-month-old, whatever. It's a baby. Are they not qualifying as innocent? I believe they do. Let me see. I gotta I'm gonna get to y'all comments. I just want to build this up. So that's one thing. How about this? Let's look at another text. Let's look at another text real quick. Just two of them. I'm not gonna hold y'all on tonight, but just two of them because I want y'all to share this with some folk. Y'all like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are at about, I think, 217 subscribers. So we got a long road to go to 1,000 and beyond, because we got to continue to tear this down. We got to get this stuff out, because I'm telling y'all, religion is messing some folk up. So I'm in Psalms. Let me share this tab. Make sure y'all seeing it. I'm in Psalms 94 and verse 21. And Psalms 94 and verse 21, again, they gathered themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemned the innocent to blood. This is talking about what people shouldn't do. There are some folk that do it. Let's back up. Let me see if I need to get context. But I think you can see it right there. Let me click on it. That this is something they should not do. I'll just start here at 18. When I said, my foot slippeth, thy mercy, O Lord, held me up. In the multitude of my thoughts within me, thy comforts delight my soul. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by law? That's a rhetorical question. They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemn the innocent blood. All right. Would babies qualify as innocent to y'all? What about even the animals? Even the animals that are under the control of maybe even the most wicked person. Okay. The reason I keep bringing up babies and then, secondary the animals is because there is a passage of scripture I used to preach from. And when I go back and I think about preaching from this text, I remember coming up with the imagination kick right in, right? Because my worldview was that God has to be right. Things that were right not because they simply were right. They were right because God had said they were right. So I had to get in my mind why the passage I'm about to show you all, why this atrocity that's about that happened, or supposedly happened, because I don't think it really happened, but y'all believe this stuff as Christians. I had to get in my mind, how would this make any sort of sense? How could this be any bit of true? I'm going to 1 Samuel 15. I'm going to share that. For those of you that are not familiar with 1 Samuel 15, be patient. Let me read this to you. I may actually read most of this, if not all of this chapter. However, it will be important. This is one you ought to be able to share with your family and with someone else and start that conversation about whether or not this God really loves people, okay, or whether or not he unconditionally loves people. When I say love people, that's what he is love, right? I don't know how he could be love and some other things he says he is at the same time, but the believer would just say, oh, he's God, he can do that. All right, we are in 1 Samuel 15. I'm going to read it and I'll try to explain it. This is called Saul's disobedience. For those that don't know, Israel had wanted, I'm gonna give you some background. Israel wanted a king, like the nations around them, supposedly. And they had judges and they had prophets, and they had Samuel was one of the prophets at the time, and he was kind of in communication with God and leading the people. But the people was like, no, we want a king. So there was this guy named Saul. It said things about him like he stood shoulders and head, he was above everybody else, and pretty much everybody else in Israel was short and only came up to this guy's shoulder, and that was supposed to be some reason as to why he he was chosen by the Lord, and he was different than them. You can go back and check that out. So Saul ended up being anointed by Samuel as the king. But then Saul got this assignment, okay? And he was sent to destroy these people. But let's read some of the details. Y'all bear with me. I'm gonna take my time. 1 Samuel 15 and verse 1 is where you can read this. Samuel said unto Saul, the Lord sent me to anoint thee king over his people, over Israel. Now, therefore, hearken thou unto the voice of the words of the Lord, or Yahweh. Now, he's already king. The prophet is coming to him with a word from the Lord, and Samuel's about to tell Saul what the Lord, Yahweh, wants Saul to do. Verse 2, thus saith the Lord of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. Now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy. Listen to this, y'all. Listen to this. Now go and smite Amalek, utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman. But he ain't stopped there. Infant and suckling. Do y'all know who that's the babies? That's the babies. Y'all, that's the babies. Because of what somebody supposedly did back here when they supposedly came up out of Egypt, I want you now that you my king, or Samuel, I want you to go and tell the king this is what I need him to do. Go and smite Amalek, utterly destroy all that they have, okay? Spare them not, slay both man and woman, infant and suckling. Now you ain't gonna stop there. Oxen, sheep, camel, and ass, meaning the donkeys, the jackasses, right? Kill the animals too. Now let me see what y'all comments saying. If are y'all saying anything about that? Very Quentin, it's so easy. Quentin, you need to deal with the first argument I gave before I even got to this. Insufficient, you and nobody else. Church of Christ. I don't care. I don't care if you freaking. I don't care who you are. You cannot deal with that first argument and stay in the Bible. Garbage. But anyway, let me get back to the text. Now watch this. And Saul gathered the people. You know what? Quentin, stay right there. I actually want to hear Quentin. Can you come on here and explain why it would be okay to kill these babies? Can you come on here and bro? You even probably got my number. Hit me on the inbox. Hit me on the inbox right now, Quentin, and tell me why it would be justified to kill a baby. I already gave you the verses where your God is saying, don't shed innocent blood. But here he is telling Samuel to tell Saul to go and shed innocent blood. I'm gonna try to get through this, but this one just burns me up, y'all. Okay. 1 Samuel 15:4. And because it gets worse, y'all. Think about what Saul is being told to do, but watch what Saul does. And Saul gathered the people together. He numbered them in Telem, 200,000 footmen and 10,000 men of Judah. So what do you got? You got He got a freaking army. Okay, he got a whole city of folk, 210 warriors, about to go over here and deal with the Amaleks. Verse 5. And Saul came to the city of Amalek and laid wait in the valley. And Saul said unto the Kenites, go, depart, get you down from among the Amalekites. So they ain't part of them people. Y'all get out of here, lest I destroy you with them. Y'all can go. For ye showed kindness to all the truth. Listen at this stuff. Man, if this, I'ma just say it. If this ain't the most racist crap I have almost ever heard, it's amazing how I taught this stuff, justified it because it was supposed to be some man in the sky that was overseeing everything, and he was right about whatever he said. It was just right because he said it. This is disgusting. This is ridiculous. But anyway. And Saul said unto the Kenites, go, depart, get down from the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them. For ye showed kindness to the children of Israel when they came up out of Egypt. So the Kenites departed from among the Amalekites. They got up out of there. And Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah until thou comest to Shur, that is over against Egypt. Listen. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive. Now Saul was supposed to kill the king, but Saul is in war. But Saul seems to have seen, ain't got it. We got this. Yeah, got a little heart. It's the king. You can even see in old movies. Y'all ever watch They would sometimes kill the king, but very rarely they thought twice about killing the king. The king meant a lot, but he said he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. Now, people. All right, let me just keep reading. I don't want to say too much. I want y'all to get all of this. Watch this. But Saul and the people spared Agag. Okay, that's the people that was with Saul. That's his soldiers. Okay, we ain't got to. We done got him. We got the king. We ain't killed him yet, but we got him. Okay, and the best of the sheep. This is what they didn't kill yet. They got the best sheep, and of the oxen, and of the fatlings and the lambs, and all that was good. So they didn't kill all the animals, because some of the animals they were looking at. We could use this. These are animals. These are animals. They don't know nothing about politics. They don't know nothing about the beef going on between this God and the Amalekite. They don't know nothing about that. So the people's like, we got the people. We got the king. Hey, that animal, that horse over there, that's a good horse. I'm gonna keep that. All right, but let's keep going. And all that was good, and would not utterly destroy them. But everything that was vile and refused, that they did. Now he told them to kill the kids too, the sucklings, the infants. Were they vile and refused? Maybe Quentin would say, yeah. Let's continue. Then came the word of the Lord unto Samuel, saying, it repenteth me that I have set up Saul to be king. Y'all know one of the last times God said it repented him was when he created man, and he said, humans are so evil. I'm repenting that I made them. But he's all knowing. He can see the future before, and supposedly, let Paul tell it in Ephesians. He chose us before the foundation of the earth. Before he did all that, he already knew he was going to send Christ and all that kind of stuff. Let me keep reading, because I'll go off into a sermon in a minute. Verse 11. It repenteth me that I have set up Saul to be king, for he is turned back from following me, and have not performed my commandments, and it grieved Samuel. Samuel was the prophet that told Saul what God said. Samuel was the guy that said, hey man, God said, go down there and kill everything. Don't leave anything that's living is supposed to die. Animals, babies, men, women, king. I don't care if it's living, kill it. That's what God said. And it grieved Samuel, and he cried unto the Lord all night. Verse 12. And when Samuel rose early to meet Saul, we talking about love, y'all. When Samuel rose early to meet Saul in the morning, it was told Samuel, saying, Saul came to Carmel, and behold, he set him up a place, and is gone about, and passed on, and gone down to Gilgal. And Samuel came to Saul, and Saul said unto him, Blessed be thou of the Lord. I have performed the man. Saul thought he had did it. Saul thought, man, we got a great victory, captured the king, and we got the best of the cattle. You know what I'm saying? But you ain't got to worry about no humans. Everybody else is dead. Verse 14. Samuel said, What meaneth then this bleating of the sheep in mine ears, and the lowing of oxen? Which, if y'all don't know what's going on here, Samuel comes after he done heard from God that Saul didn't do what he was supposed to do. And when Saul sees him, he all excited. He say, man, we got a good victory, man. I did everything God told me to do. And Samuel looks at him like, then why do I hear sheep? Why do I hear oxen? The sound that sheep make, the sound that oxen, why do I hear that? If you did what the Lord said, basically, I wouldn't hear none of that. You know why I wouldn't hear none of that? Because they would be dead. There would be nothing to hear. Verse 15. When we talk about love, I'm getting to it. We are talking about this God of love. Verse 15. And Saul said, They have bought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and of the oxen to sacrifice unto the Lord thy God, and the rest we have utterly destroyed. Wait a minute. They still was going to kill the animals, but they was going to offer them as a sacrifice to God because of they had a great victory. Let's keep reading. Then Samuel said unto Saul, excuse me, Stay, and I will tell thee what the Lord have said to me this night. Now, it's interesting that God was talking to Samuel at night. Could it be that he was dreaming? And see, that's the thing about this God that believe. And Quentin, you come in here. I'm waiting for you to show us what's the supernatural. What is it? What is it that's beyond? Because this prophet is doing the same junk. Talking about he spoke with God that night. Now he gonna come and tell the king something. The king is believing that this man is really in communication with God. All right. Anyway, and he said unto him, Say on, verse 17. And Samuel said, When thou wast little in thy own sight, wast thou not made the head of the tribes of Israel, and the Lord anointed thee king? He's reminding him of why God made him king. And the Lord sent thee unto a journey and said, Go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they be consumed. Now look right there. For the believers that will point out and say, see, they are sinners, innocent babies, infants, still nursing from their mother. It said to kill infants and sucklings, okay? Even the babies of the animals got to die. Everything that was living was to be put to death. But he loves you. Anyway, let's go. He says, verse 18, and the Lord sent thee upon a journey and said, Go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they be consumed. Wherefore didst thou not obey the voice of the Lord, but didst fly upon the spoil, and didst evil in the sight? Y'all bear with me, man. I'm going back. Y'all, I'm going back and I'm thinking that I preached this and I believe this. I believe this with all of my being that it was right. This is sick. This is really sick. Let me continue to read. Verse 20. And Saul said unto Samuel, Yea, I have obeyed the voice of the Lord, and have gone the way which the Lord sent me, and have brought Agag, the king of Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. But the people took the spoil of the sheep and the oxen, and the chief of things which should have been utterly destroyed, to sacrifice unto the Lord God in Gilgal. Okay, we didn't kill him here, but we're going to take him down there, and we're going to appreciate God for the victory, and we're going to kill him down there. And Samuel said, hath the Lord great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices? It would seem that he does all the ones he commanded. But anyway, as in obeying. So it's more important to obey, right? But what was he to obey? He had already done some horrible thing. He killed babies. And that wasn't good enough for God. That wasn't good enough for this God. Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. Y'all, by the way, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Saul is going to lose his rulership over his kingdom because of this. This is how David comes into the picture. Because Saul disobeyed here, it is going to go bad for him from pretty much this point on. He's going to lose his kingship over this right here. He says, for rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. I ain't got time to deal with it. And stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry, because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord. He has also rejected thee from being king. You are going to lose your kingship because of this crap. You are going to lose your kingship because you didn't kill the king and you didn't kill the animals, but you was going to offer them as a sacrifice to me when you got over there. So no. Verse 25. Now therefore I pray thee, pardon my sin. He's scared now. He did what he thought he did what he's supposed to do. Now he's realized, oh, the prophet done said some stuff. Don't you realize what happens in church? Some of y'all be just fine till you get to church and they put that guilt trip on you and start talking about hell, this imaginary place. But let me keep going. Now therefore I pray thee, pardon my sin, turn again away from me, that I may worship the Lord. And Samuel said unto Saul, I will not return with thee, for thou hast rejected the word of the Lord. Now he asking for forgiveness. Samuel like, man, nah, you ain't real. You ain't real. You ain't do what the Lord said. I ain't trying to hear it. I ain't going nowhere with you. He talking to the king. Samuel said to Saul, I will not return with thee, for thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord have rejected thee from being king over Israel. And as Samuel turned about to go away, he laid hold upon the skirt of his mantle, and it rent. So the king is now, he real scared. He's like, no, Samuel, no. And Samuel said unto him, the Lord have rent the kingdom of Israel from thee this day, and have given it to a neighbor of thine that is better than you. I'm gonna stop right there. That's enough. That's enough. Now, what I did is I read for y'all in the Bible that the God of the Bible supposedly don't want you to shed innocent blood. I read that for you in Exodus. I read that for you. Rent means to tear. Yeah, rent means to tear. So if you can imagine Y'all forgive me. I gotta eat dinner, right? If you can imagine Samuel coming in there saying you didn't obey the Lord, and he gets ready to walk out, and the king saw he's so terrified of what Samuel just told him. He reaches out, no, come back, and he ends up tearing his garment. He rents it. The God of the Bible cannot be loved when you sending your goons in to kill innocent babies, human babies, animals, you know, the little sucklings. Come on, y'all. Where is the love? Like the Black Eyed Peas say, where is the love in this story? Okay. And Carl, I know you ain't on the literal tip, but that's not what most Christians believe. The Christians out here, the ones that will see this, they believe this really happened. They believe God told this man to go and kill babies. He didn't kill babies. He disobeyed God. He should have killed he did kill the babies, but he should have killed the king and all that other stuff. My point is, how is this love, y'all, if he'll go and send him to kill the babies? Now, one thing I didn't do that I should have done. Let me show you why. I want to. If you're not familiar with Richard Dawkins, I think I'll go ahead and play Richard Dawkins. I have the quote. I could read it to you, but I feel like it's said better by Richard himself. And somebody took and put what he says in the book, The God Delusion. Somebody took and put it to a little bit of music. But let me see what some of the comments where y'all at so far. In hindsight, Samuel sounds like a cult leader using fear tactics. Absolutely, Bishop. That's exact. Yes, he does. He sounds like a like a cult leader, and that's what he got going on. He's in the mind of the king. In hindsight, Samuel sounds like a cult leader using fear tactics to keep. And this is what happened with the whole thing of hell. You believers out there, you believe in hell, and some of y'all are only going and doing what you're doing because you're trying to avoid hell. That's really it. I'm not saying all of you, but some of y'all, that's why you're doing it. You ain't trying to go to hell, man. If you if believers knew, if it was somehow confirmed, okay, there is no heaven, you just would cease to exist. There is no hell. Let's just say you just would cease to exist. Okay, you can go to heaven and live with this world, or you can just cease to exist. Won't be no punishment. And matter of fact, that's the best evidence we got for when you die anyway. People ask me, well, what happens when you die? I'm gonna say the same thing that was happening with you before you were conceived. You don't know, right? That's the best evidence we have for what happens when you die. The same thing that was going on before your mom and dad got together, that's what it's going to be like when you die. Nothing. It's gone. Okay. All right. Now, let me get to the video. I'm sorry, y'all. All right. I'm going to play what Richard Dawkins, this quote from his book, God Delusion. Like I said, somebody put it to music. Christians might think, oh, well, the music is dark or whatever. Just listen to what he calls the God of the Bible. Y'all listen.
The God of the Old Testament is arguably the most unpleasant character in all fiction. Jealous and proud of it, a petty, unjust, unforgiving control freak, a vindictive, bloodthirsty ethnic cleanser, a misogynistic, homophobic, racist, infanticidal, genocidal, filicidal, pestilential, megalomaniacal, sadomasochistic, capriciously malevolent bully.
Facts. Go look up the facts, and you will read it. That is what he is. Facts. Let me get some of the comments because I want to get to George Carlin and maybe build one last argument on how God will send a delusion. He will go out of his way, and what that does by him going out of his way to send you a delusion to make sure you go to an eternal hell, not a million years, not a trillion years, not a quintillion years, but forever. Forever, ever, forever, ever. All right. Let's see here. What y'all comments, what y'all saying? Literally or spiritually, the thought is still psychotic. Absolutely. Whether what thank you, Sheila. Well said. It's still, it's like you gotta be sick, man. You gotta be sick. And y'all forgive me for, going where I went with that story. I preached that. I preached that to people. I said that. And so when, you know what, I'm gonna say this too. Shout out to my boy Chief Kali. I'm not sure what all they saying over there on Twitter, but for the Christians that want me to just shut up, that's the thing, man. I preach this foolishness, you know what I'm saying, for 20 years and justify stuff like this in my own brain. You know what? I'm out here doing my work and it ain't gonna stop. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna stop because I'm gonna keep on trying to wake some people up so they don't get caught up in the mental psychosis that I was in. I'm just glad that I had a strong enough mind and just enough to bring myself up out of it. And I'm just trying to help y'all come up out of it too. All right, let me see. Carl, you writing books over here, man. I'm trying to get through. Now I have to come back at the end and read this stuff. Some teach that conditional immortality and annihilationism. Some do teach. I think that I thought the Jehovah's Witness. I can't confirm that too much, but I think the Jehovah's Witness teach that you're just gonna go away. It's not like you're gonna burn in hell. But that ain't what the Bible say. The Bible talks about people having their take and their part in the lake of fire. All right, and see if there's any more comments that I can actually read. Eli, how did you answer those questions? So you can't shut up. And Texas, when you say how did I answer those questions, what questions? Because I can't. I don't know if you mean something in the chat because I can't see that while I'm reading. Yeah, and Chris is right, y'all. Dan Barker added some things to that, I believe, to that. Let me see. This book, the most unpleasant character in all of fiction. Yeah, y'all check that out. What Chris is providing. When you were a preacher, how did I? Those questions, but what questions though? Texas, Goddess, what questions when I was a preacher? And I'll wait. Y'all be patient. I want to know what she's at because this might provide some value. How did you justify? Oh yeah, okay. How did I justify babies being killed? You know what, Texas? Just give me a second. Y'all gotta, I'm sorry. Give me a second. All right, I'm back. All right. I justified in my mind, okay, the way I thought of it, the reason this was okay was because I already had in my mind that there was an entity beyond me, beyond time, space, and matter that knew everything from the beginning to the end, from the end to the beginning. I had already justified or accepted in my mind that whatever this entity deemed as right and good, it was actually right and good because that entity knew infinitely more than I could ever know. So with the babies and the Israelites needing to take over the area for the promise that had been made to them by this same entity, in order to do that, they didn't need these infants growing up and then taking revenge. And God, in my mind back then, God knew that what sins or what those babies would do, what they would become. And since he knew that, and since he was the giver of life, he was then justified in having Saul and his 200. He was then justified in having Saul and his 210 gangsters, hoodlums, murderers go into there and just utterly wipe out them people, because he knew that that baby was just going to grow up and do all kind of evil, right? So kill him. He knew that the little female baby was going to grow up and turn the Israelite men out. You know, she was going to be some kind of whore or something, and be a issue for the Israelite men. Man, I don't know. It's sick. It's sick. So what we talked about yesterday and talking about religion and how it hurts, man, that stuff is sick, man. You would justify anything when you believe in this stuff. It's imagination and it's sick, y'all. And if you out there a believer and you think this is easy, Quentin, I want you to come on here right now, because I really need you to tell me how you justifying this, bro. I'm over here in my feelings because this is the sickest shit I ever could think of. Forgive my language, but it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Let me see what Chris said before Chris says, I justified it, but destroying an evil bloodline. Yeah, I wouldn't even go into that about the Nephilim. Supposedly, these were the offspring of the Nephilim and all that, and they didn't have souls. And if any person, including a baby, survive, would learn their past and kill to get even. Exactly. That was part of it. That was part of it. That was part of it for me. But the thing is, they also killed the animals. And I'm just now thinking about that, Chris. They also killed the animals. The animals didn't do nothing, don't know nothing. Kill them too. I don't even know. Did they have domesticated? I don't even know if they probably had dogs back then, but kill them too. Whatever belonged to the Amalekite, whatever belonged to them people that had breath, it was to be killed by Saul and his 210 thugs. It was to be killed. No excuses. The God of your Bible does not love us. He is full of hate, but then again, he's fake. So it's full of nothing. The ones believing this are the ones that need to wake up. And we can speak for times on end about all of the foolishness done in the name of religion all across the world. So not only when he got angry with Israel, he killed them also. Yeah, he did that to his own people too. So let me see. I'm not going to deal with the argument tonight here. Let me do this. I'm going to show y'all this, and I'm going to show y'all George, and I'm going to get out of here. This one has been a little bit uh, a little bit more than I thought it would be for me emotionally. But I'm gonna try to get this right here. Then we're gonna close it out with some comedy, and maybe I'll check out some comments, and then we'll get on out of here. The time is now 8:10. Sounds a lot like Hitler. Absolutely sickening. Just I'm embarrassed to say that I believe this stuff. I'm messed up. I'm messed up about this. So let me see. Okay. I'm sharing with you Second Thessalonians chapter 2. Okay. Second Thessalonians chapter 2. These were some people that were already not believing. Okay, they were supposedly being brought the message, right? And this again, this is in the context of this God being love, right? And keep in mind what hell is. In Second Thessalonians 2 in verse 8, it says, "And then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan." Now, if we're talking about an individual who works for or works like Satan or does what Satan is doing, we could, if you're a Christian, you could say, okay, that person is on their way to hell because they're working for Satan, right? I'm sure a Christian would say that. It says, with all power and signs and lying wonders. So they out here being deceptive, trying to turn people from God. That's what they already doing. Get that. Verse 10. And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth. What is the truth? You can't go to God except you come by Jesus. You got to come by Jesus. That's the truth. And then he says that they might be saved. Watch this in verse 11. Get this. And for this cause, God shall send them a strong delusion. Why we gotta do that? That they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned. That's condemned, stuck, who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. Do you understand what I just read to you? Do you understand what I just showed you? Supposedly, a God who is not willing that you perish, a God that will tell you you have to come by Jesus Christ. He said, I don't want you to go to hell. These people were already on their way to hell. But God says, let me help them into hell. Just to let me put my stamp on it. Show enough hell. Let me just solidify their position in hell. But he loves you. Why is that important? Because if anybody knows what it would take to turn you away from the deceivableness, that would turn you away from your lawlessness, your sin, your whatever you want to call it. If anybody knows what would convince Eli tonight to believe in that God, it would be him, because he knows everything. But no, that ain't what he want to do. He wants to make sure people like me solidify they spot. Don't take his seat. Don't take his seat. That seat in hell, that's for him. That's for y'all. Y'all non-believers, that's for y'all. And he's going to make sure you continue to be deceived, even though he could provide the evidence that would save you. But he loves you. He loves you so much. He gonna make sure you solidify your spot in hell. Does that sound like somebody that's the epitome of love? All right. I'm gonna back up a little bit. Y'all, we gonna y'all let's loosen up. Let me lighten this up a little bit. I want to go back to George Carlin. I'm gonna start it over, and we gonna chill for like 10 minutes. Y'all just join me. Y'all watch this with me. I'm gonna come back, check out some of your comments, and then we gonna get out of here. I gotta chill out. I got to, because when I reflect on what I used to believe, it's making me sick with myself. I don't see how y'all stay doing this. All right, y'all. I got this up. George, come on.
But in the bullshit department, a businessman can't hold a candle to a clergyman. Because I got to tell you the truth, folks. I got to tell you the truth. When it comes to bullshit, big time, major league bullshit, you have to stand in awe of the all-time champion of false promises and exaggerated claims, religion. No contest. No contest. Religion easily has the greatest bullshit story ever told. Think about it. Religion has actually convinced people that there's an invisible man living in the sky who watches everything you do every minute of every day. And the invisible man has a special list of 10 things he does not want you to do. And if you do any of these 10 things, he has a special place full of fire and smoke and burning and torture and anguish, where he will send you to live and suffer and burn and choke and scream and cry forever and ever till the end of time. But he loves you. He loves you. He loves you, and he needs money. He always needs money. He's all powerful, all perfect, all knowing, and all wise. Somehow, just can't handle money. Religion takes in billions of dollars. They pay no taxes, and they always need a little more. Now, you talk about a good bullshit story. Holy shit. Thank you. But, thank you very much. But I want you to know something. This is sincere. I want you to know, when it comes to believing in God, I really tried. I really tried. I tried to believe that there is a God who created each of us in his own image and likeness, loves us very much, and keeps a close eye on things. I really tried to believe that, but I got to tell you, the longer you live, the more you look around, the more you realize something is fucked up. Something is wrong here. War, disease, death, destruction, hunger, filth, poverty, torture, crime, corruption, and the ice-capades. Something is definitely wrong. This is not good work. If this is the best God can do, I am not impressed. Results like these do not belong on the resume of a supreme being. This is the kind of shit you'd expect from an office temp with a bad attitude. And just between you and me, in any decently run universe, this guy would have been out on his all-powerful ass a long time ago. And by the way, I say this guy because I firmly believe, looking at these results, that if there is a God, it has to be a man. No woman could or would ever fuck things up like this. If there is a God, I think most reasonable people might agree that he's at least incompetent and maybe, just maybe, doesn't give a shit. Which I admire in a person and which would explain a lot of these bad results. So rather than be just another mindless religious robot, mindlessly and aimlessly and blindly believing that all of this is in the hands of some spooky, incompetent father figure who doesn't give a shit, I decided to look around for something else to worship, something I could really count on. And immediately I thought of the sun. Happened like that. Overnight, I became a sun worshiper. Well, not overnight, you can't see the sun at night. But first thing the next morning, I became a sun worshiper. Several reasons. First of all, I can see the sun, okay? Yeah. Unlike some other gods I could mention, I can actually see the sun. I'm big on that. If I can see something, I don't know, kind of helps the credibility along, you know? So every day I can see the sun as it gives me everything I need: heat, light, food, flowers in the park, reflections on the lake, an occasional skin cancer. But hey, at least there are no crucifixions, and we're not setting people on fire simply because they don't agree with us. Sun worship is fairly simple. There's no mystery, no miracles, no pageantry. No one asks for money. There are no songs to learn. And we don't have a special building where we all gather once a week to compare clothing. And the best thing about the sun, it never tells me I'm unworthy. Doesn't tell me I'm a bad person who needs to be saved. Hasn't said an unkind word. Treats me fine. So I worship the sun. But I don't pray to the sun. Know why? I wouldn't presume on our friendship. It's not polite. I've often thought people treat God rather rudely, don't you? Asking trillions and trillions of prayers every day, asking and pleading and begging for favors. Do this, give me that, I need a new car, I want a better job. And most of this praying takes place on Sunday, his day off. It's not nice, and it's no way to treat a friend. But people do pray, and they pray for a lot of different things. You know, your sister needs an operation on her crotch. Your brother was arrested for defecating in a mall. But most of all, you'd really like to fuck that hot little redhead down at the convenience store. You know, the one with the eye patch and the club foot. Huh? Can you pray for that? I think you'd have to. And I say, fine, pray for anything you want. Pray for anything. But what about the divine plan? Remember that? The divine plan. Long time ago, God made a divine plan, gave it a lot of thought, decided it was a good plan, put it into practice. And for billions and billions of years, the divine plan has been doing just fine. Now you come along and pray for something. Well, suppose the thing you want isn't in God's divine plan. What do you want him to do? Change his plan? Just for you? Doesn't it seem a little arrogant? It's a divine plan. What's the use of being God if every rundown schmuck with a $2 prayer book can come along and fuck up your plan? And here's something else, another problem you might have. Suppose your prayers aren't answered. What do you say? Well, it's God's will. Thy will be done. Fine, but if it's God's will and he's going to do what he wants to anyway, why the fuck bother praying in the first place? Seems like a big waste of time to me. Couldn't you just skip the praying part and go right to his will? It's all very confusing. So to get around a lot of this, I decided to worship the sun. But as I said, I don't pray to the sun. You know who I pray to? Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci. 2 reasons. First of all, I think he's a good actor, okay? To me, that counts. Second, he looks like a guy who can get things done. Joe Pesci doesn't fuck around. Doesn't fuck around. In fact, Joe Pesci came through on a couple of things that God was having trouble with. For years, I asked God to do something about my noisy neighbor with the barking dog. Joe Pesci straightened that cocksucker out with 1 visit. It's amazing what you can accomplish with a simple baseball bat. So I've been praying to Joe for about a year now. And I noticed something. I noticed that all the prayers I used to offer to God and all the prayers I now offer to Joe Pesci are being answered at about the same 50% rate. Half the time I get what I want, half the time I don't. Same as God, 50-50. Same as the 4-leaf clover and the horseshoe, the wishing well and the rabbit's foot. Same as the mojo man. Same as the voodoo lady who tells you your fortune by squeezing the goat's testicles. It's all the same, 50-50. So just pick your superstition, sit back, make a wish, and enjoy yourself. And for those of you who look to the Bible for moral lessons and literary qualities. I might suggest a couple of other stories for you. You might want to look at The Three Little Pigs. That's a good one. Has a nice, happy ending. I'm sure you'll like that. Then there's Little Red Riding Hood, although it does have that X-rated part where the big bad wolf actually eats the grandmother, which I didn't care for, by the way. And finally, I've often always drawn a great deal of moral comfort from Humpty Dumpty. The part I like the best, all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again. That's because there is no Humpty Dumpty and there is no God. None, not one, no God, never was. In fact, I'm gonna put it this way. If there is a God, may he strike this audience dead. See, nothing happened. Nothing happened. Everybody's okay. All right? Tell you what. I'll raise the stakes. A little bit. If there is a God, may he strike me dead. See, nothing happened. Oh, wait, got a little cramp in my leg. And my balls hurt. Plus, I'm blind. Oh, now I'm okay again. Must have been Joe Pesci, huh? God bless Joe Pesci. Thank you all very much. Joe bless you. Thank you.
George, hey. George killed it, man. George killed it. Hey, family, let me see what the comments are before we get out of here. Hey, George killed it, man. Hey, rest in power to George, man. Listen, family. To say that the God of this Bible is love is just ludicrous. The only reason this works is because we have an imagination and it can justify it. It tries to hook these things up in your mind. If you went into the evidence for this supposed God, and even within his word, which is what I try to do with believers, is show them it doesn't work. What you believe is love, your God does not display that. It cancels out. That's why I say the God of the Bible does not exist. So with that being said, y'all, hey, I just want to say thanks to those that are supporting the channel and helping me doing what I'm doing is very encouraging. You also help me do things like this. If you check out the description, get this one if you're interested also in how the religion, or mostly the Christian religion, has affected melanated people here in America. Willie Cartwright is doing a great job of talking about that. You might find a lot of things familiar when you start to read that book. So I put the link in the description, like I stated before. If you want an autograph copy, I had him autograph this one for me. If you want that, send me an inbox and I can be in touch with the author, and hopefully at a later date we're going to have Mr. Willie Cartwright on to come and talk to us about the book and his experience. Quentin, I ain't forgot about you, man. You need to come justify this stuff. If we need to, we'll have a show. You need to come on here and justify this stuff, because I saw a lot of comments. I don't know if Quentin had to go to work or not. You can't justify this, man. And I apologize to y'all. Just in case you wondering, yes, I did get a little choked up because these are babies, innocent babies were killed. The only reason you are still living is because the only reason I'm still living is because I'm still living. Okay. I don't, Miss Locklear, I appreciate you. I respect you. But you have to do this. If you're a contender for your faith, then let's have that conversation and give us reasons why this God, is what you think he is. But I'm here to say he's trash. He is not love, and he is not real. You can literally find God in anything your reflections in. Unless I remind you.
You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in. You can see God in anything
Appreciate
your
everything
reflections
y'all
in.
have
I can
done.
find God in anything I'm reflecting
We're gonna keep
in.
bringing this knowledge to our
God in
people.
anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in.
Down
You
with the
can see
fake,
God in anything your
in with the
reflections
real.
in.
Love
I can
y'all.
find God in anything I'm reflecting in. They eyes to see the world they know outside. I can close my eyes and see all that and way beyond. When these trials of life come heavy and these obstacles get hard, feeling like I need some answers, I just go and talk to God. I just go and talk to God when I'm looking for guidance. Need more than sight, need vision, need direction when I'm blinded. Then I start that conversation with that voice I hear inside me. And that conversation starts with a voice inside that sounds just like me. When I talk to God, you can see God in anything. Your reflection, God, I can find God in anything. When I talk to God, you can see God in anything. When I talk to God, find God in anything. When I talk to God, Daddy said don't ever assume, ask questions. It's ironic, it was that advice that helped the song happen. It was also that advice that led me to my life's blessings. That same advice helped me make it through life's lessons. It was that advice that separates grown-ups away from children. That advice can be the difference from knowing or just believing. It was that advice that brought the gavel down on my decision of breaking the mental chains of these man-created religions. Cause faith and belief, nonsense, the biggest scam ever. I hate to say it, I swear it's one hell of a mental illness. No other time. Why we do it with these religions? The fact that coke is killing while all of these guys is missing. Peekaboos, guys playing games with you. I'ma just assume he ain't got no COVID miracles. Maybe he ran out after making the donkey talk. Or some stories about a guy walking on water tides. Simply a distraction to keep you away from you and to look outside for a guy when the God is inside of you. When you close your eyes at night to pray to that voice you talking to. When you're ready to face the truth, you realize that that voice is you. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in.